What's going on, YouTube? I'm your host, the Gym Slasher, aka CJ3, back at it again. You could have been anywhere in the world. You chose to be here with me, and I appreciate it. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, man. Hype me up. Let's get going. Without further ado, let's get into work. Bill Belichick being snubbed from the Hall of Fame as a first ballot Hall of Famer. What in the world is going on? With that, let me pause because I haven't done a video since I did my AFC NFC prediction, right? I was wrong. I loved all the comments and I loved all the razzing about it and heckling about it. It's all good and love. Like I said, it wasn't no gambling. It is pure entertainment. It was my own assessment of what I believed could have won or who I believe should have won. Both games were great. They were close. Like the New England and Broncos, if you listen to that video at all, I said that Broncos was going to win by 3. They lost by 3. I said Drake May was going to win that. If Patriots was going to win, it was going to be by his legs. He was going to be around 50 to 60 yards rushing. You look at the stats, right on par. So congratulations to New England Patriots. Shout out to Seattle. I was going to really dig really into that Seahawks game because I think it was a little bit more not controversial in terms of play call or referees and all that, but just coach calls. But be that as it may, Seattle still had their job to stop them. They did on that goal line. I was looking pretty close. Game was Seattle got 31 points. Rams got 27. Would have been around that 27 or 34 points, or if they would have went for 2, who knows? Either way, shout out to Seattle. Sam Darnold, again, like I said, is one of my favorites. USC quarterbacks of all time. One of my favorites. I'm glad he's there. I was just hoping that the Rams would get there again. But it is what it is. You got to play to win the games. Shout out to them. Best of luck to both teams. Of course, I'm going to do a prediction for both of those, Seattle and Patriots. But with that being said, had to put that on the side. I had to express that, make sure that y'all know I ain't running from it. I accept my losses and my prediction. That being said, let's get back into this Bill Belichick thing. I mentioned it and I said this in the short, in my short as well. And I just really want to dig a little bit more into this because this is beyond in terms of just being a snub, right? The reason why this struck a chord amongst all sports and athletes and entertainers in general is you're now NFL and the NFL writers and whoever has votes for the Hall of Fame. Every last one of you are responsible, even the ones that voted for Bill Belichick. It was clearly a coup. It was clearly conversed amongst the group to deny him of his first ballot Hall of Fame. It leads these other questions that people are asking, and we're all aware of them. Tom Brady, does he get in? Is this the precursor for every New England Patriot player or staff that may be eligible in the Hall of Fame? Are they all going to get snubbed on the first round? What precedent are you setting, or what precedent have you now set? This is ridiculous beyond compel. It shows a lack of intelligence. It shows beyond ridiculous. This is beyond pettiness. And we all are familiar with someone being petty. This is beyond that. Let's peel these layers back. The New England Patriots did cheat. Here's the thing, being part of the NFL in terms of just trying out, being part of college sports, being part of athletes that were playing during the time that I was trying out for, and being around other coaches in that ilk over the years, understanding how all that stuff works. Every team wants to find an edge to know what the other team is doing prior to the game, during the game. This happens rampant from high school to college to the pros. If you get caught, you get caught. It happens everywhere. If I can get an edge to know if you tip me off of anything, this is not just the two major sports this typically happen in is football and baseball. You have a lot of signs, a lot of intricacies that's going on, a lot of specific plays or basically plays, and to find out what they're doing or when they're doing it can change the trajectory of a game or a team or anything like that. However, if you get caught, you get caught. And they're I expect, and like the New England Patriots did, they got penalized. I believe they lost draft picks. I believe personnel was fired. People were suspended. You had some severities that happened during that. Some people argue it wasn't enough. Some people argue it was more than enough. That's another argument for another day. But they were penalized. How long can you keep penalizing a team or a franchise after the aftermath? I think it's part of the history. I think it should be conversated. I think it should be pointed out during somebody's career in terms of their overall. But if you was to ask me, is that on grounds for Bill Belichick or Tom Brady or any personnel in that New England Patriots dynasty, that 23 years, I believe, Bill Belichick was a head coach for New England in 2000, give or take, he left in 2023. So we're talking about over 20 years. Are we going to put his whole career just as a head coach for those years? And now people can say, well, those are the years he got caught. There was other years he was doing this in. We all know they just don't, basically out of jurisdiction to really penalize him or the Patriots for it. Be that as it may, they did not get caught. And again, I'm not a Patriots fan, and so I'm speaking just in a general of me watching and observing. Unless you can come up with some grand scheme of data set that every single Super Bowl that they won, every Super Bowl that they went to, there was beyond compelled of cheating and malpractice bigger than anybody else was doing it. If that is the case, and I would like that information being provided, and I would yield that information to say, okay, well, but we don't have that. We're just going off of speculation. And Bill Belichick, of course, his personality was always dry to people, to the media, but that is in no excuse when his name comes up to be in the Hall of Fame to go, well, I'm not, but I assume that somebody else is going to vote for him. Well, I don't really like, but I expect somebody else going to do it. To even have that mindset, if that was your mindset, is beyond ridiculous. It shows a lack of IQ. When Bill Belichick, if I was a voter and Bill Belichick name crosses my ballot, he's on my ballot. I'm not thinking. If it's only 3 spots, it's actually now only 2 spots. That one is probably the easiest one I'm picking. I'm not wasting any time on it. If we get him into the Hall of Fame and his story is being told, Tom Brady's story is being told, the New England Patriots story is being told, tell the whole thing. Yes, during that time, they did this, they got caught. But that's not to deny Bill Belichick's intellect, Tom Brady's skill set to be undeniable when he got out there on the court, or excuse me, on the field. He is the ultimate underdog in terms of story. Bill Belichick drafted him. They built this from a ground level to get the Patriots and Teddy Bruschi's of the world and Vince Wilforks of the world and Lloyd Malloy and Ty Law and Troy Brown and, the list goes on of players that put their all into winning those games, winning those conference championships, winning Super Bowls. To not have this man be a first ballot Hall of Famer, it's shocking to say the least. And I don't even try to be hyperbolic about it, right? It's wrong is wrong. What is the resolve from this? What do we do moving forward from this? That's a heck of a question. I don't know. I believe that some people are going to may boycott the ceremony, and I don't have a problem with that. There's times where a boycott or a sit down or an acknowledgement of foul play and not of showing to be not participant of a ceremony or a function, this would warrant that. this would warrant that for real, because to deny that to deny that man and all of what he has done for the NFL in its totality, there's very little players, especially on a professional level side, that don't revere Bill Belichick. The numbers to deny him is you can't deny him unless, again, like I said, unless you're trying to rip his whole body of work and saying all of it is him cheating. And we have yet to see that. It is the equivalent of snubbing Michael Jordan type of level, or LeBron James when he retires, that he's not a sure ballot first round Hall of Famer. It reminds me of, and I knew, and baseball is really notorious of doing this, and I'm disappointed that this is bled over to the NFL. Because if you are any type of fan of Major League Baseball, if you are not a fan, if you do not treat the media, the Major League Baseball media, with reverence, and you're not playful and cheerful for them, if you are a great player and your name comes up, you can about guarantee you will not be a first ballot Hall of Famer, because they go off of how you treated me. They are the pettiness of beyond petty. I knew that the NFL was in trouble, and I knew that it was raising for concern when I seen this happen to Chris Carter. And it wasn't. It was spoken about, and it was a head scratcher, but it wasn't spoken loud. Then it happened to Terrell Owens, and that's when it really became pronounced. Of, wait a minute, like, okay, you may not, I know he could be a malcontent. I know he had all kinds of different personalities in terms of how he treated certain media pundits, but there's only but 2-3 receivers of all time that rivals Terrell Owens. And that's Jerry Rice, that's Randy Moss. And then from there, it is debatable on who else do you want to put ahead of Terrell Owens. And we can have that topic for another day, but if he's not, statistically speaking, when he retired, there was those two gentlemen in the major categories that he was looking either eye to eye with, or he was looking slightly up with, or he was looking down on, right? To not have him as a first ballot Hall of Fame, and people made fun of Terrell Owens for crying and feeling disappointed, I would have been too. That man put in so much work, and he poured his heart and soul into the game. He pretty much played on a broken ankle in the Super Bowl when he was with the Philadelphia Eagles, going against, ironically enough, the Patriots. And Bill Belichick, and I remember he was talking about, we had no answer for Terrell Owens in that game. He was absolutely lighting them up, cooking them. And to have him be a snub on that, it reminds me of Deion Sanders, the third one. Deion Sanders had pointed this out, and that was the other part that raised a red flag. He brought up Eli Manning, or they brought the media talk with Deion Sanders about Eli Manning. And Deion said, I understand he won 2 Super Bowls, but his body of work don't scream out Hall of Fame. And they were kind of arguing back and forth with him. And he said, listen, put it this way. You put Eli Manning in the Hall of Fame, you need to give me a different jacket. I need a different coat. In other words, this is levels to this. And we can't be in the same podium with the same color as me being Deion Sanders. I'm just talking in reference. That's the way Deion was explaining it. I'm Deion Sanders. I'm arguably one of the greatest to ever play this game called football of all time. It's him, Lawrence Taylor, Joe Montana, Tom Brady, Barry Sanders, Jim Brown. There's only but a small of all time, and Deion is one of them. And he's saying, if you put Eli Manning in, we can't have the same jacket. You're gonna have to give me a different jacket. There's different levels to this thing, and we can't do that. And I thought that was so profound for him to say that, and I agree 100%. I'm not saying that Eli. I juggle back and forth between him being a Hall of Famer, but it's hard to discredit those 2 Super Bowls, and I think that's where those media is coming in. But I don't blame him at all for Deion saying, okay, if he's in, you need to move me up a different level. I need a different jacket because we ain't on the same page. We ain't on the same level. And I don't disagree with that at all neither. But there's times where 2 things can be right at the same time. When you develop your intelligence as an adult, as a critical thinker, you understand that 2 things are right at the same time, but you have to have the intelligent goal to separate those two things, to separate your biases or to separate your ideologies from what's in front of you. You know, this is a perfect example of that. You may not like, you could think of plenty of times of you as a media personnel and Bill Belichick snubbing you or being quick or being short with you. And you going, dang, I couldn't get a good article from him because he wouldn't talk to me or ignore me, he dismissed me or whatever the case. And then you sit on this vindictive, I'm going to pay him back type of thing. But to look at this body of work and not go, you know what, I can't stand him. Don't like him. I'll never have a drink with him. Wouldn't sit in the same room with him. But I can't deny these statistical categories of wins, playoff wins, Super Bowl appearances, personnel in terms of him drafting players and getting the most out of his players and different strategies he's used over the years against some of the greatest offenses, some of the greatest teams that has ever played. The man took a whole team undefeated outside of the Miami Dolphins. No other team has gone that far undefeated into the Super Bowl and took a David Tyree catch on the side of his head to win that game, to be for the Giants to win that game. You can't deny this. To deny that man that because you had a personal vendetta against him or to be against him is absolutely embarrassing for you. Yes, it's embarrassing for you. I hope this message get to any one of them that let them know you ought to be embarrassed of yourself. Honestly, I don't know if there's a chance or a way that you can get your ballot or your opportunity of voting, get it revoked. It should at this point, because then, like everyone has saying, and a lot of sports pundits have saying, if Bill Belichick don't get in as a first ballot Hall of Famer, then who is then deserving of that, especially on the coaches realm? Because every coach, head coach is looking up to that man there. That is the blueprint that's set in terms of game preparation, in-game preparation, post-game preparation, allowing a team to stay focused for season in and season out for that amount of time is remarkable. He is Phil Jackson's, the Greg Popovich of the world. Even in baseball, the Terry Francona's, Joe Torre's, the coach from St. Louis, I can't think of his name, but I'm a Dodger fan, so he put a lot of problems on us over the years. But his face is it might come to me later on. But either way, even Tommy Lasorda's of the world and some of the greats, Yogi Berra's of the world, right? He is, in terms of all-time great coaches, he's on that list. I can't imagine any one of those great coaches that's on them that gets snubbed, and he having that snub. Be that as it may, I want to wrap this up with saying this. We as adults have a responsibility to show our youth and the people that are around us to learn to be emotionally intelligent, to be able to cipher out things. And it takes a level of intellect to get to that point where you have perspective of others, of yourself and others around you, to be able to separate your biases to things that are in front of you and to make a calculated assessment devoid of your own personal goals. And I'm not talking about, like, for me, I'm saying, look, I'm a Rams fan. I don't want to pick the Rams, but things are in terms of facetious and being playful in terms of thinking your team is going to win. That's one thing. But things that are critical, such as achievement awards or somewhere where there need to be a ballot to move to the next level, there's not a way. If there was Sean McVay let's just make an example, right? If Sean McVay was eligible for a Hall of Fame and Bill Belichick happened to be eligible for the Hall of Fame, and if their careers being where it is at right now, with Sean McVay being in the Super Bowl twice, winning one, and Bill Belichick stats, even though as I'm a Ram fan, I'm gonna look at that and go, not this year. If there's one coach that need to be going on this ballot, as much as I am a Rams fan, Sean, you ain't getting it, bro. I gotta put Bill Belichick in. There's no way. my football card would have to be revoked. I genuinely feel that way. It has to be taken from me. Something has to be wrong because now I can't talk to you. I don't expect anybody to talk to me about football from this point. If I'm denying, if I'm going to put Sean McVay over because I'm a Rams fan, not put Bill Belichick, that I would be absolutely embarrassed for that. I would give up my card and go, yeah, I don't know why I did that. You know, so with that being said, we have to show some intelligence here. I'm concerned with the NFL. You have created a serious stain in the Hall of Fame, and you've been on this bottom trajectory for the last 10, 15 years anyway, and this has just absolutely exploded, and you got some work to do, and I don't know if you're going to be able to get out of this because this is absolutely different. And I understand that they did some things that was incorrect and we weren't all happy of or proud of, but they did get penalized for them. They did move on from that. They won Super Bowls after they got penalized, and we all had eyes on them, and I'm sure the NFL aficionados had eyes on them from that point forth, and they still came back and won a Super Bowl, which is to me even more impressive than that because Bill Belichick said, all right, I won't cheat, and I'm still going to beat you. So even with that, to deny that man that first ballot Hall of Fame is disappointment, is disappointing. And I know Bill Belichick is going to be the consummate professional when he do for the following year. He's gonna try to keep it as professional as possible. But I don't blame him if he might, jump up and say some things that may struck a nerve with some people. But with that being said, this one went a little bit longer than I wanted to, but I appreciate everybody for sitting around and sticking out and listening to me with a rant. I try to stay on board and without too much emotion, but this one is really disappointing. But with that being said, who are you? What is your mission? I appreciate you. Thank you for watching. And until next time, peace.